Berries are a nutritional powerhouse. No argument there. They're rich in antioxidants like anthocyanins and vitamin C. They're low in sugar compared to most fruits, and they pack a lot of fiber into a small, flavorful package. Strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, they all support heart health, brain function, and even skin health. They're basically nature's candy, except instead of just giving you a sugar rush, they actually do something good for your body. You can eat a handful of berries and feel pretty smug about your choices. Cake, on the other hand, has always worn its purpose proudly. It's meant to be indulgent, celebratory, and delicious. It's not pretending to be health food. When you slice into a fluffy sponge cake or a buttery biscuit base, you know exactly what you're getting. White flour, sugar, butter, and maybe a little bit of guilt depending on how many servings you go back for. No one ever says, "I'm trying to eat clean, so I had 2 slices of cake." But when you put berries and cake together in a dessert like berry shortcake, things start to get confusing. At first glance, it almost looks healthy. It's got fruit. How bad can it be? And yes, you might argue that berry shortcake is at least better than something like triple fudge brownies or a slab of cheesecake. But that's a low bar. Just because something includes fruit doesn't mean it magically earns a health halo. Let's break it down. The typical shortcake includes a generous portion of sponge cake or biscuit, often made with refined white flour and sugar, layered with a mountain of whipped cream and a pile of sweetened berries. Those berries? They're rarely naked. They're usually macerated with sugar to bring out their juices and give them that glossy dessert shine. And that whipped cream? It's mostly fat and air, sure, but also usually contains added sugar and enough calories to rival the cake itself. The end result? A light dessert that can easily tip over 400 to 500 calories per serving, with more added sugar than a can of soda and a hefty dose of saturated fat to go with it. It's the kind of dish that feels like a smart choice until you start reading the nutrition label. Or worse, until you've had 2 servings without realizing it. Berry shortcake is one of those sneaky desserts that disguises itself as semi-wholesome. Unlike a chocolate lava cake that announces its decadence the second it hits the table, shortcake seems subtle, almost innocent. That's part of its charm, and also part of the trap. You're far more likely to reach for seconds, thinking, well, it's just fruit and some cream, while overlooking the fact that the base is basically sugar bread and the cream is sweetened fat fluffed up to look airy. It also doesn't help that many store-bought or restaurant versions of berry shortcake ramp up the sugar even further. Syrupy berry filling instead of fresh fruit, stabilized whipped topping instead of real cream, and overly sweet cake that's more like a cupcake without the frosting. These processed versions can double the sugar content and add even more preservatives and artificial flavorings, further distancing the dish from anything remotely healthy. But here's the good news. You can have your shortcake and still make it smarter. If you really want a treat that nods in the direction of health without going full-blown sugar bomb, there are tweaks that help. Use whole grain flour in the shortcake. Lightly sweeten the berries or leave them unsweetened if they're already ripe and flavorful. Swap out heavy whipped cream for Greek yogurt with a touch of vanilla. Or go crust-free and just layer the fruit with a small dollop of cream and call it a deconstructed shortcake. You'll still get the satisfaction, but with far less sugar and fewer empty calories. So yes, berries are a gift from nature, and cake is always welcome at a celebration. But berry shortcake? It's a dessert pretending to be virtuous. Delicious? Absolutely. Refreshing? Sometimes. Health food? Not even close. If you're going to eat it, enjoy every bite, but just don't let the berries fool you into thinking it's anything other than a very tasty lie wrapped in whipped cream.